Radio Zero.
It's Radio Zero with Rick and Rose. Oh, it came up on my watch. It said Radio Zero's live now with Rick and Rose, Friday, September 1st. Don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out.
Our special guest, Mrs. Pink.
I'm Hi Barbie. Not Hi Barbie, but Barbie. Hi. Barbie. I'm Hi.
So
Yeah.
confusing.
Hi,
You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, go to Radio Zero US, Google Podcasts, where we typically live stream on Facebook on the Radio Zero page, Poster Children page, Twitch at PCJC USA, and on the Poster Children YouTube channel. Are you getting an echo, anyone? I feel like I'm getting an echo.
Let us know if you're getting an echo right here.
Usually live stream every other Friday around 4 p.m. Central. Unfortunately, the internet went out at our world headquarters last week, and so we were unable to keep our regular schedule, but we're back. You can patronize us at patreon.com/Radio Zero. And
I'm going to take these glasses
thanks to everyone who has patronized us.
All right. Wow, this pink microphone matches my pink jumpsuit, my pink Barbie jumpsuit.
I wonder if it's just because my headphones are starting to molt and I'm hearing more of the room, but I'm a little worried that we're experiencing technical difficulties, but we'll see.
Yeah,
y'all let us know.
Yeah. All right. So something very special happened today. Actually, two really special things. I just pooped, so I'm really excited about that. I dropped something, but you dropped something that you've been working on for even longer than my poop. Can you talk a little bit about your droppage? Your new single, Richard Normal Valentine.
That's right.
So much to unpack there. Let's begin with the name. I'm trying to. I don't.
Yeah. No. I
Tell us about your single.
I put out a single. It's one side is it's digital, so it doesn't actually have sides. Virtual sides is a song called A Little Rain, and then the other side is Tomorrow's Teardrops, which is a early Cynthia Weil song, Brill Building songwriter that was recorded and released by Jan from Jan and Dean and sunk like a stone in the pop music firmament, pop music lake. I don't know. I'm not sure. Well, I know why. I know why the song didn't do well. I think I have theories. But
why?
Anyways, I think because his voice is not that great, which is what I think I liked about it, being a person whose voice is not that great. If you think about like Jan and Dean songs, there's that kind of surfer voice that's not good. There's the good Beach Boys voice, but then there's also the bad kind of voice and the Jan and Dean voice, and then also it's a pretty emo song. I think
it's
for
so sad.
1961.
I'm like listening
and also
to it.
sung
I'm like,
by a man, right? So it was written by. Well, I think Cynthia Weil. Did she do the music? I can't remember because later on she wrote songs with Barry Mann, and I don't know who did which. So I'm not sure if Cynthia Weil wrote the lyrics or wrote the music. So I'm not sure, but having a man sing that song too in 1961 or whatever, I'm sure that's not a. Yeah, there's so many things wrong with it.
I listened to it this morning when I was driving to work, and it's basic. I'm like, oh, it's a cover? Really? Those are not your words to me, right? I made it all about myself. But it's like, you don't love me anymore. I know. I'm just waiting for you to dump me. The tears are going to be on my face or something like that.
So I had heard this song on 500 Songs podcast. It was like on a Beach Boys episode or something, and he played it. And every once in a while he'll play a song, and I'll be just like, oh my God, this is the most amazing song. And he played a little snippet of it, and I was like, I have to find this. And then, I was listening to it, and the younger son that was like a year ago or something, and I was listening to that song over and over again, and he was just like, I hate this song. The song is too sad.
It's really, really sad. Yeah.
And then I would laugh. I would laugh when he said that.
It's weird because I had those songs in my head all morning, and I feel like it's weird. I thought I had I had a Joy Division sort of vibe, and I don't know why. From it, like I was like in which so Joy Division, like the Love Will Tear Us Apart song, always would make me laugh because it is so sad. Love will tear us apart. And it's
similar.
And laugh.
So that's the thing is like you see, yeah. That's a really great kind of point. Is that there is that early, Brill Building, whatever, Phil Spector kind of songs. And some of them are, like a guy dying, the boyfriend dying in the motorcycle accident, right? They're like super tragic emo songs, right? That were hits. And then hearing, what was it? Disorder? I can't remember. I posted about it by Joy Division at the repair shop or at the dealer, getting
car
oil
repair
change.
shop. Yeah.
And it was like, realizing, and Love Will Tear Us Apart is like a ballady, it's like a weird overlap of that post-punk, obviously the Joy Division thing, but then it's also like a Frank Sinatra song, right?
Yeah.
There's like some Frank Sinatra in there.
Yeah.
Maybe via Iggy Pop or something,
Okay,
but it's still in there.
We've got some questions for you. Cody B says hi. Dannon says happy Friday. And Spiro Bolas says, why the change from TDM? Good question.
I don't know. I think Thoughts Detecting Machines felt a little too. Well, it's been going on for 10 years. It's confusing. It's a confusing name, but again, then calling it Richard Normal Valentine is self-sabotaging, I guess. But and then also Thoughts Detecting Machines started sounding more like a electronic, like doing the instrumentals. I thought that makes more sense for instrumentals. And then I was thinking a lot about country music. You always talk about country music, but it's like, I don't think country music works in the context of like a poster children type band, because country music is all about songwriting, at least even now, even garbage country.
The single songwriter.
What they call now garbage country.
They don't call it garbage.
They call it garbage country.
Do they really?
I believe that's what I call it.
Yeah, okay, all right.
And so, but it is about songwriting, right? But then, and so was also thinking about, all those people have 3 names, right? And so...
Yeah. Oh, so yeah, Richard Normal Valentine. I'm going to text our son and tell him to bring you an Oppenheimer hat, because you're wearing all black, I'm wearing all pink. It could totally be Barbenheimer. Let me. Do you have an Oppenheimer hat?
I'm not wearing
though?
all black. I got gray pants.
You can't see them.
Yeah. So why they change? I don't know. And it's been something I've been thinking about. Yeah, I think because I'm thinking more in terms of singer-songwriter stuff, I think.
That's nice.
Or trying, yeah.
So you're trying to, you have a message to tell.
No, I don't have
when
a message.
When you say singer-songwriter, what do you mean? When you're thinking more in terms of that, what's the change?
Writing songs.
What does that mean?
Well, but that's not true, because A Little Rain song is all from the synthesizer, and I built it up from there. So I'm not changing the way I write music.
But you're kind of you feel like you're kind of accepting that you're a songwriter? Are you embracing and accepting the idea of songwriting?
Maybe.
In a non-punk way, in a non-rebellious sort of way?
I don't.
As a professor of music in the School of Music?
I guess, yeah. I guess so.
I mean, I think that's good, like you're yeah. And
because, actually Thoughts Detecting Machine, it was all about, because I wanted to do something where I would just do everything with a computer and a guitar. It was all about that idea of just being able to plug directly into a PA and operate like a DJ, but play music. And not simply about looping, like everybody does looping and has been doing looping for years, but it was more about, that idea of like a folk singer with their acoustic guitar, except this was electronic with guitars, and that's what Thoughts Detecting Machines is. And now this is just, I don't know. I think
so
let me
read a little bit more into it. Thoughts Detecting Machines. Your first tagline was "Take good care of the machines, and they'll take care of you." And that's kind of like an artificial intelligence thing. And now since we're post AI inception, post the common user having access to the AI, there's no need for that anymore. So you can move on and be yourself. You're freed from the machines.
Yeah, and actually, though, originally, because I'm so insecure about my voice, I really was seriously considering, and this was before the more just using a generated voice, but one that sounded like a real person, not like a vocoder kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Like what's happening now with what's her name's Grimes and stuff, right? But doing that, but like a year or two ago, that was still a lot more difficult, and so. Yeah, I think I was I was thinking about that though. So that AI thing actually is it's not even post AI. I was almost like, oh, maybe it would be better if I just didn't sing at all and just had the generated voice sing everything, but not be obviously generated. But I didn't do that.
Yeah.
And so now I'm just trying to find a balance between old, like that Hunters and Collectors song, right? Hearing that Hunters and Collectors song with the guy singing completely off key and remembering that it sounded great 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And listening to it now, kind of being poisoned by auto-tune and digital recording, like not being able to listen to a one or two take song, vocal take that's not perfect. But in the past, what that imperfection meant was earnestness and honesty, right?
Yeah. So that,
or it just sounded like it wasn't even that it meant that. It was just like, oh, like if somebody sang with a perfect voice, that would be like you were singing like an opera singer or super trained, and you weren't actually singing from the heart. Whereas now, and it was interesting because the elder, the Dairy King, we were listening to Mitski on the way up, dropping him back to school, and realizing, and it was like, because he was talking about how people criticize Mitski for not singing the right notes sometimes or something, and then we listened to it, and it's like, well, no, that's not what's actually happening. Is Mitski is either auto-tuned or a really good singer, and then is making conscious choices to sing what would be considered a weird note within the context of pop music, right? Like they inject what I would consider, like that's what it would surprise me. It's like, oh, this sounds like kind of like commercial pop music in a way. I guess I'm not the person to determine that, but it was also, though, it's like no one would sing that note.
I have to listen to that.
Yeah, it was interesting.
You're making me think of the Pixies.
And then it would give you that I would get that little bump of, oh, this is different, right? Because it's like, oh, this is not, the same melody.
Right,
it's like,
right.
oh, and it reminded me of that time where we had a Poster Children song, and I had an argument with the engineer producer about the note I was singing, and I was intentionally singing this very discordant note. And I can't remember what Led Zeppelin song. It's not like this is an unusual thing to do. It's like if you sell it and you sing that note, like there's a song where Robert Plant is just like leaning into this note, and it's just like, holy cow, this is freaking me out, him singing that note. But you assume, because it's Robert Plant, that it's intentional. And the fight was with this engineer was trying to fix that note. And I was like, no, I want this note to be discord. I want it to be discordant because it's a song that's upsetting, right? Downwind, right?
Right.
And it's like we had a huge fight about that. It's like, well, people are going to just think that you don't know or that I'm unprofessional because I let that
right,
note
right.
through.
And that's why you
right?
have to be careful when you hire an engineer or a
Well,
producer.
it's not even be careful. It's just at some point, it's like, how far are you going to push that? And so that was what was interesting. Anyways, I don't know where I'm going with this.
Well, so I wanted to make a note. Like the first real discordant music that I remember, pop music I remember hearing was the Pixies. Like just like some of the, I think it's on the the second record, right?
The Surfer Rosa. You mean
even the
full length or the?
I think
or,
yeah. I
the
just
other-
just really just totally out of tune and just beautiful. So I have to listen to Mitski.
And so this is the thing: is that's what I was talking about. Is like what Mitski's doing. I feel like is kind of that reaction to the perfection, but it's different. It's not the same as I'm going to wail out of tune,
right.
and or I'm not going to worry about being perfectly in pitch. It's kind of like there's. It's not retro. It doesn't sound like 1980. It's like what we did, like when we recorded our record,
Right.
The last Poster Children record, where it was live in the studio and then one or two takes of vocals, and it really messed with my head because I've been poisoned, right, or evolved, changed over time, and so even that what used to be indie rock and the kind of latitude you had.
You don't have anymore. It's been.
You can't do the same thing anymore because it doesn't sound
professional, or you're too old.
Yeah,
or
it just
something like
sounds out of sync.
Yeah.
You have to create something that sounds like or evokes the spirit of that time, right? But isn't of that time, right?
I guess. We have some more comments here. So Tim Bauer says rock and or roll. Denon says please keep singing. And yeah. And Denon also says love Hunters and Collectors. And Cody agrees the first Hunters and Collectors record is great. And Tim Bauer says your microphones look like the boy-girl pegs in the board game Life. As they're meant to be. Okay, good. Well, all right, so the first song is about. Do you want to talk about the first song a little bit? Not the cover.
Sure.
Yeah. So, what's it called?
A Little Rain.
And I remember listening to it for the first time, and I was like, okay, well, I got. I mean, can we spoiler alert?
I feel like we should because I worry that it has the high potential of being misinterpreted.
Well,
as I listened to it over and over again, I was like, are people gonna understand what's going on here?
From what I heard, and I'm just an innocent bystander. I know nothing. C major, dun 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 dun. The Rick
so you
classic.
can of course know that it started from a keyboard part as opposed to a guitar part,
Absolutely.
which would either be E or F sharp, right?
Right, or B in a pinch, when you want to get different. But most are like that. So it's C major, real happy, really happy, like Rick music is usually. And then I'm like, oh man, he's happy and he wants me to jump around to this song. And then I go, well, wait a minute, I know Rick, he's not happy and he doesn't want me. He wants me to jump around to this song, but he knows that, or he's saying something crafty underneath. So, and then I heard, it's just a little rain, and I was like, oh, good. He's telling me that, not to mind don't sweat the small stuff. That's what he's telling me. And then the second one came around, and you're saying just smile, and that's what caught me, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, And then by the end of it, I knew it was about climate change. My parents lost their house in a flood. More people are losing their houses, now, maybe in Florida, and maybe more people are believing in climate change. But, and then I was like, he's telling Mother Earth, who's a lady, to just smile, and did that get too far French for you?
Yeah, no, Cassandra is that's the thing I identify with. Cassandra is
Cassandra complex.
You can see the future, but talks in a language that no one understands, so is frustrated. So it's just, I was just looking for basically characters to gaslight. So I think for me it's about the friendly gaslighting. So I'm realizing there's a huge amount, and it's like, oh, breaking your balls, or it's like, hey, cheer up, be smile, you have such a pretty smile, why don't you smile, like that kind of gaslighting, where it's like, where the person is basically telling you you're being you know, you're just being too serious about something or overreacting or, you know, being a pill, right? And they're kind of saying lighten up, but that can be a very that lighten up kind of person.
Gaslighting up.
Yeah, gaslighting up, right? It's like, oh, they're actually just saying that I think you're stupid or ignorant, or I'm dismissing what you're saying, right? You know, it's like, and it's kind of like, you know, Chicken Little, right? So instead of Chicken Little, I used Henny Penny, but it's that same idea where it's like somebody will call you Chicken Little, and then the sky will fall, right? It's that kind of thing.
Tim Bowers is saying A Little Rain is great. You wrote ALR, so I guess it's A Little Rain. Starts wonderfully. Just smile, Mother Earth. Us humans will be gone soon.
Yeah,
You've
that's
made a
an interesting
believer
way to
out of
look at
him.
it. Yeah. So my idea was more, and it doesn't. It actually, the more I think about it, it doesn't really work. Which is that it flips, and it's just like, oh, the person who's been, you know, telling like Noah, for instance, that he's being a crazy person, and then the flood's happening, and they're like, hey, can I get on the boat? You know, they want.
It's the
They
three
spend
little
their-
pigs.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the three
Tim
little
Bowers
pigs,
is
right?
asking, was Rose in the backing vocals on the chorus? No, I know nothing about any of this. I'm completely, I have none of this. I have no idea about any of this stuff at all. He just, like this morning, he's like, I'm dropping a single. Oh, by the way, I'm dropping a single. So, you know,
Well, it
but
was-
the kids know about it.
Mm.
Go on.
Well, no, I asked Graham to take a photo, Dairy King to take a photo. And
But
I
their
think
kids are usually.
the younger
yeah.
had heard, did not like, I don't know, that riff, the piano thing.
But I'm not.
He
I'm
told
not in
me
any of
like
that.
a year or two ago, oh, I don't like this one. Like when I'm listening to just a loop in the car trying to figure out lyrics and stuff. And he's like, oh, I don't like this one.
So how did you sing the backup vocals?
Oh, I just sing in falsetto. And then I pitch correct. If you pitch correct yourself singing a falsetto and double it and compress it, it sounds nice.
Yeah, it is all Richard Normal Valentine. So higher vocal, it seemed. He said, "Yeah, no, not me."
Oh
I
yeah,
can't
there's a
sing that
really
high.
high one. Yeah, I don't even know how I did that. I don't think I pitch shifted it though. But yeah, I think if you heard it that vocal naked, it would be pretty disturbing, like pretty scratchy. But there are ways to. Yeah, there are tricks. It's like that 10cc song where it's got the ahs going in the background like infinitely. There are things you can do to make vocals sound super smooth. And so I definitely cheat.
He says that explains it. Cool. Can I be on one of your songs?
You're asking me that?
Yeah, no,
I do.
don't-
I might
don't-
need a violin.
Oh, well,
Maybe
you
I'll have you and the younger play a
violinist.
violin part.
Sure, I would love that.
We'll see. I don't. We shouldn't spend all the time talking about this.
Well, did you write the music before or after the lyrics?
Yeah,
It was
always,
the lyrics.
always before.
Music
Music's
was
always
before.
first. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
okay.
that synthesizer. It was a Oberheim OBX, not a real one. I do have a lot of real synthesizers, but I used this plug-in synthesizer and I played those notes, and then I was like, okay. And then I just started building a song around it.
Yeah, good. So, are you working on another one?
So that was the problem is I was trying to do a record full of stuff, and I really got overwhelmed.
So you're gonna do singles, like
Yep.
sub pop singles, even.
And like I did before, that's what I
Yeah.
did over COVID, right? I was doing
Yeah.
a singing song and an instrumental song,
Right,
and I
and
put
then
that out, and then at the end I had an album. But this time, the thing is when I started doing that, I was like, I'm not making physical records anymore because they're bad for the environment. It's a poisonous thing.
So
And
this
so
may
now
or
maybe
may
this
not.
time-
Yeah.
This time, I'm gonna try to not do that again. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I
It's-
also so I like the idea of, and then so what it was is like, okay, I can't, and then it was like, well, I'm not gonna do the vocal and instrumental thing, and then I was like, oh, I have all these covers, some of which I've done for like the PRF, kind of cover records, and it's like, and I had that Tomorrow's Teardrops. I just was obsessed with the song, and so I did the guitar and piano, and it was like, oh, and it sounded good, and it was like, okay, maybe I'll do a song of my own and then a cover, and that's got me out of my hole.
I think it's wonderful, and I'm like really. I mean, as I texted you this too, like as the chair of the faculty, if you were just another faculty member, I'd be like shitting my pants. I'd be so proud of you. It's great. But as your wife, I'm also really proud. I think that's fantastic. I'm glad that you're creating.
Yeah, and thanks to the people who gave me a little money on Bandcamp. That's
Ooh.
Nice. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm also realizing that's really nice. It's like you put out a song or two, and then you get some compliments, and it's like you put out a whole record. It's wonderful.
You get the
right?
same amount of compliments. This way you get like compliments every couple of weeks.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also the way how scattered my focus is in terms of music. I mean, that was always a complaint, right? There was a complaint about what record Poster Children record was, where eclectic is one thing, but like you can take it too far. It was just like a review
it makes sense
of DDD or one of those records where it was just like, this is too all over the place. And I loved, that. I mean, if you think about like the Replacements, Let It Be, right? That record's freaking all over the place. That's a great record, but people like that's not normal.
Yeah.
And it's also it's not normal that somebody could write so many different types of songs, recordings, and have them be consistently good. I guess that's the problem
have
too.
them be consistently liked by the same people.
Exactly.
Yeah, because people have people like Superchunk and they want to hear that, and then.
But that's not true anymore. That's the thing is that
some people have eclectic taste.
But I think it's changed because everybody has access to all those different eras, right? So the idea, like if you just think about our kids, right, and what they listen to is like you have the younger listening to. What's his name? Creedence Clearwater Revival, and then also what's the Tyler the Creator, right? It's just like
I see similarities.
That makes no sense whatsoever in the context of earlier generations. It's like you had generational, but now it's all about I heard this on a game, I heard this on a YouTube.
Right.
YouTuber was playing this in the background.
I have Engelbert Humperdinck in my phone because of the Marvel Moon Knight.
Yeah.
Tim Bowers says, is that you on Spotify with some jazz-like song, An Emptiness Supreme?
That is a Yay Big song that I did a remix of. So that is me, Richard Normal Valentin. So that was the first test run of that name, but I didn't do the Valentine. I just feel like the Valentine makes more sense in that country music context, and it's also autocorrect, right? It's my autocorrect name. I think I just wrote.
Just Richard Valentine.
There is a Richard Valentine. There's like some stuff on Spotify, and it's like a guy without a shirt on, like
that could
from
be you.
the 90s. Yeah,
you look good without a shirt.
And I didn't like the rhythm of it. I wasn't 100% on the Valentine, but I also know that it's like it's more likely someone would call me Richard Valentine than Richard Valentin.
Yeah.
So it just made sense. We'll see. But no, the Yay Big record, it's from last year, and it's a remix of their full length, but the remix record has all sorts of different people who've did remixes, and so that one clip is, it's my remix, but there are others. You should check out the whole record. It's interesting because I think it's all the same. I think we all got the same tracks, and then everybody remixed it different. I can't remember what name. Our pal, our compatriot, did one, but it's not under his regular name.
Who, Matthew?
Great, yeah. You see, you can't out him when he uses all sorts of names. He never uses his real name.
Right. What did you do to remix that? Like, what was your focus? What were you handed, and then what did you do to remix the Yay Big song?
It was just a bunch of tracks, and then I cut it up. It's basically like what I'm supposed to be doing with the Salaryman tracks.
Oh, okay, nice. Yeah, that's true. That there's
It's a lot of
Salaryman.
work. And so this
Sure.
is the problem too, is like the Salaryman stuff is so overwhelming because it's like I need to edit it down, but I do feel like the Salaryman, that should be a full record. And so I've got to figure out a way to get myself to stop. I got to just edit. I got to treat it as one song at a time and edit them at one at a time and not get overwhelmed.
Maybe you can let me try one.
Yeah, it's just there's so much. It's just like if you wanna haul off and try to do multi-track editing of
Little
10-minute long improvisations. I mean, it's a huge pain in the ass, and
Okay.
but yeah,
I always
you can have the tracks.
I always wanted to
I could give some to Jim too.
give some to Jim and then run
then
some
you-
through an AI. Why don't you write an algorithm?
That's not the way it works.
Our friend Matthew can write an algorithm.
Yeah,
to,
in fact, that's his remix is really interesting because he did use. I'm trying to remember. I think he used some software
that was his,
to scan. Like he's got some kind of software that scans through his sample library, I believe, and he somehow manipulated that to do a remix of that same song. So
maybe
it's
we
really
should let him
interesting.
in the band.
Just-
Actually, that's his PhD, isn't that his research is writing an algorithm to mix? I'm pretty sure that's what his
computer
Yeah.
sampling and
Yeah.
programming.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but
All right.
But I don't want to. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess. Wow, yeah, could just give a bunch of people the Salaryman tracks and make them. But that's the thing too, is that's giving somebody else a lot of work to do.
Well, you did it for Yay Big.
Yeah, but they also put out. It was a companion, right? So there's the
All right.
record
Yeah.
of the original
Yeah.
sort of composition, and then there's the record of remixes. So.
Well, maybe Jim can do it.
No, you can. I mean, I'm happy to, but the thing is that it's a lot. If you haven't done it before, if you want.
Teach me how to do it.
Well, see, that's exactly. So
I'm
that would
even-
be just
yeah, it
like
would
me
be hard.
having to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
To teach you how to do it is.
But maybe somebody with no musical knowledge at all could do something really interesting with it.
Well, the other thing is that the first Salaryman record was so long ago that the only digital editing I had was stereo. It was what was it called? Sound Designer 2. So it was before multi-track digital editing on computers. So before Pro Tools. And so what I did was I took these 10-minute long improvisations, the Salaryman improvisations, and I mixed them all 10 minutes, mixed them to stereo, and then sat there and chopped up the stereo mixes to make those songs. That first Salaryman record. Second Salaryman record were all songs that we had improvised, but then had played live.
So
they
they
were
already
structured.
they
and
were
so
structured.
we recorded it like a record, like a Poster Children record, right, without vocals.
Right.
That third one,
Which is the third one?
the Electric Forest one that took me 7 years to finish, was all multi-tracks and cutting it together and trying to make it into something.
I actually can't
coherent.
wait. Yeah, I'm
So maybe that is the thing I should do. Is I
Mix
should
it
just
down.
mix.
yeah.
And then because that's the can thing. That's what Holger Zuke.
Yeah, that is
would
what
do.
you should do, and
Is-
then you
yeah.
mix it down into 2 tracks, then cut it up, and then hand out all the tracks to different people and let them mix it and then let them make companion piece.
Yeah.
Because they'll have the then we'll have the companion piece, right? You'll have the
Yeah.
mixed down in your copious free time. You're still on the Senate. You're a very busy man. But with all the stuff that you're doing, you still were able to put out a single, so that's really great. I think you should be proud, and and it's really cool that it came out on September 1st too.
Why is that?
I don't know. It's like the beginning of the school year
Oh, it's Bandcamp Friday.
and
so
Bandcamp Friday. Yeah,
That's what I did previously
yeah.
with
Good.
yeah.
All right.
It's
So
all
what
about
else?
capitalism.
What else is going on?
We missed out. So that was the thing, is the Trump mugshot came out like the day before, and that was just a week ago. Can you believe that? It was just a week ago that the Trump mugshot came out, and I knew already, that it was going to be old news and boring a week later. And I was so disappointed that we weren't able to talk about it.
I mean, it's just, if you go on MSNBC, it's a 24-hour Trump news channel, pretty much.
Actually, when I was riding my bike home on the trail today, there was a guy walking, and actually, it's happening more and more. People are listening to music and audio out loud, like through their phone, which, first off, I already hate, and then just like the out loud listening to your crappy music, but then also through those tinny speakers, like phone speakers. And then I went by one guy, and I just heard Trump yapping, and then I was just like, is he listening to the news, or is he just really frickin' walking down the trail listening to Trump talk? Saying.
Did you stop and
no
confront him?
But
no?
There's so much emotion came up, welled up in me. But it was like, oh, maybe he's just listening to the news, right? And thinking to himself,
Well, what did you size
like
him up? Did you look at him?
Well, I saw him from behind.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So what kind of person who's wearing a tank top, shorts, walking on a trail
is going to be listening to
Trump out loud? But it was a red, white, and blue outfit, so it's possible.
Yeah, he's getting his exercise, and I don't know.
But it could be the situation. That's the same kind of situation where I could be listening to NPR and then, with my windows rolled down, listening to NPR on the radio.
In your Tesla.
And then I drive in my Tesla, and then I drive by someone, and they just hear Trump yelling out of it. They're going to assume that I'm some kind of
the thing
Trump
is that
nut.
NPR, I haven't heard his voice.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
That's what was weird about it too. Is just like, oh my God.
You think
my town, in our town?
Yeah, let's mix this down to 2 tracks now. Do you think he's going to win? Let's cut to the chase. Is he going to win?
I am so worried about Joe Biden not making it to November.
You mean dying?
Yes. I'm so worried.
Can't they just put formaldehyde in him or something and like animate him? Can't they AI him?
And the problem is that it and so I do know. I mean, my fantasy is, if that terrible scenario happens, and I hate that I'm thinking this way, is that J.B. Pritzker.
I know. It's so funny. Like
J.B. Pritzker is way too out there to. Yeah.
Joe Christmas says he's listening to this out loud in a Burger King drive-through. And another, I'm trying now. If we had the little guy here, Dow does a really good Trump. What is he like? Yeah. I'd like a burger. I'd like an Impossible Burger. Joe, roll down the window. I want an Impossible Burger with no cheese.
That's the thing. Trump's a McDonald's man.
Okay. Well, yeah. J.B. Pritzker, what?
Yeah. No. I. It's a fantasy. I mean.
So you love him as much as I do?
Well, no. I mean.
No.
No. I don't think I love him as much as you do, because he's a freaking billionaire. So that's It still bothers me.
Hey, baby, it's capitalism. What do you want him to give away some of his money?
Yeah, somebody the other day said, I want to, this was a conversation I was on the outside part of. Is like, maybe I'd like to be governor someday of Illinois. And then I said, and then somebody said, oh, yeah, that's a possibility. And I said, as long as you have $1 billion.
Yeah.
That was my negative take.
Yes, and that's why we can't have nice things, because people like you are like, well, I love J.B. Pritzker. He's a mensch. He does everything right. Everything. It's like we're safe. We're protected here in this state of Illinois. And then you're like, yeah, but he's rich.
Well,
fucker.
It's not that simple. It's not me just simply hating rich people, which is what, of course, a typical conservative would say.
You just hate all rich people.
You just hate the rich. And it's not that. It's that it disappoints me. I am disappointed that we have to rely on benevolent billionaires in order to it's all about the money.
Benevolent billionaire males.
Yeah, well, I guess if there's there's a rich lady around. If like, what is Alice Walton up to? You know,
Okay.
what's her politics? Oh, her son, her grandson. Is that her son? I can't remember which Walton. One of the Walmart heirs is in Illinois, also younger guy, grandchild, right?
Well, they can take
Sam
over as
Walton,
governor
grandchild,
when
is pretty active in progressive politics, I believe, in Illinois.
So if Biden dies, we don't get the vice president doesn't step up and become the presidential candidate?
But then it's over. I mean,
Yeah.
if Kamala Harris, I mean, no, I mean,
nobody will vote for her.
I like her, but
Yeah.
the reality is if you put her up against Trump,
Yeah.
we have to acknowledge
We need another
we
white
have to
man.
acknowledge what's wrong with our country.
Right.
You know, we have to acknowledge our country's flaws.
Okay.
Right?
All right. So, all right, good. We escaped the politics segment without you like boiling down into a little mass of like going down the abyss. So, what else you got going on? What have you been watching these days?
I watched.
We did the politics segment, right? It was good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just watched a couple of. So I realized I watched this guy's documentaries. The one about Halix, is that what it was? There was a rock band, a Disneyland rock band, or a Disney rock band that played at Disneyland, and there's a great documentary about it on YouTube. And I remember watching that, and then I just heard an interview with the guy who runs that channel, and watched he does stuff about. What is it called? I can't remember. Something land. It's basically, it started out as talking about like defunct land, I think is the channel. Talking about, missing rides that went away at Disneyland and stuff, right? And it's kind of expanded from there. And yeah, it was like a epic documentary about one I watched was about Fast Pass, the history of lines. Kind of at Disneyland.
Wow. Yeah. I would watch that.
Yep. And then
I bet Matt would watch that too, our drummer.
Yeah, and it goes through the whole history of it.
God.
And it's an hour and a half long.
I'd totally watch that. You can watch it while you're in line.
And it really gets good. It takes a while. It gets really good in the middle when he commissions. I won't spoil.
Oh my
it,
God, I want to watch that so bad.
And then you were there when I watched
the
you saw part of the finding the person who wrote the 4-note. Audio, what do they call that, Mark?
Bumper music or something?
Well, it's not just the bumper music. It's like I wish I could remember because I just watched it about the audio trademark or whatever it is for the Disney Channel and searching. Yeah, trying to find the person who did that, and it's a good hour and a half, also, if not longer.
Oh yeah,
yeah, those were good.
Yeah, great.
And
else?
then also it always has an underlying problem with this guy who's a documentarian. He feels like he's a documentarian, is a filmmaker. He's anonymous, kind of anonymous. You don't see him, but he dealing with the tension of being a YouTuber versus a documentarian, like in feeling pretentious or being criticized for being pretentious if he calls what he does documentary. But he is doing documentary. Right, but it's YouTube, and and he gets money. He makes a living doing this now, running this channel.
How does he get money from subscribers? Oh, Patreon.
Yep. People.
They're good.
Finance the documentaries.
So yeah, I mean that's like adding crowdsourcing to our ASPT, to our to like to determine a professor's worth. Is we all know that writing in journals, especially the ones that you don't pay for, are the ones that's that's worthwhile. That makes you a better professor and stuff like that. Is crowdsourcing is there's a problem, not a problem, but just thinking about all the different things that all the diversity, in the program, right? All the different things that people do in the program, and like making sure that they're vetted, but like they're.
Yeah, and I made an argument for that when there were some issues was it over 10 years ago now, in a university situation, let's just say, where it was like, I mean, we're going to be increasingly dealing with self-publication and, digital release and,
Right.
to determine the value of something. It's kind of and I didn't say this, somebody else said it. It's just kind of like if you do a gallery show and 10 people see it, and then you do, some kind of digital online release, whether that's artwork or music, and 100,000 people view it, right? And the gallery show is valued more than,
the digital release that 100,000 people saw.
And the fact that it was self-released as opposed to put through a gallery or put through a label or anything like that. And it's like I was making the argument that this is kind of the way things are going, and that didn't fly.
Well, yeah, it's very, very confusing, right? Because so we let's say the gallery is let's say the gallery is a digital adjunct of the Guggenheim or something, or digital, let's say got into it's TEDx, Guggenheim, right? It's like some kind of thing where, or you can even pay for it, it's because the Guggenheim needs some money too, right? So then is that how do we rate that? And then there's a whole bunch of different types of concerts that faculty play. There's the concerts that we play. There's concerts, it is just a huge amount of diversity, and you want diversity in the program. But back to the Guggenheim thing. Who is vetting that? Who's we know that that's good because that's a name brand, right? But
right.
that's a historically, but the curators for these types of galleries and the gatekeepers for these types of spaces are all kind of the same color and the same gender. So do we want to start, what's it like when you start paying attention to, alternative vetting, I guess?
Yeah, and then the counter argument is just popularity or visibility, right? It's not not
a measure of greatness, right? Yeah,
either.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. But then, you just descended to these discussions about, but then, talking about the scam of contemporary art, right? Not the scam, but the fact that it's there's a huge financial sort of component to the fine art gallery, contemporary gallery kind of world, and then how that market is manipulated by the gatekeepers, right?
Yeah.
And they are the ones who make the value, right? And then the question is, and so all those questions are up for grabs now. What determines quality? Mm-hmm. What's good art?
Mm-hmm.
But that's always been a question, I guess.
Yes.
It's just now it's a little more complicated because of the computer, and now
and equity,
the AI.
and equity also.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
But and the computer and AI now too. Yes. That throws a little wrench into things. I didn't click on this. No, there's nobody writing in here. Okay. So what else? What else we have to talk about?
I don't know. What else is going on?
How are your classes?
Fine.
What do you think about your classes? You're teaching 2 web and 1 advanced web?
That's right. So 3 web classes.
I know, I keep asking.
I mean,
that.
I'm definitely comfortable right now. I don't feel like AI has gotten to the point where it's totally disrupted what my classes are, but I can see it coming. I could see a future where, and I was just talking to the person who is teaching the other section of the web class, and we spun off pretty far off into some of this AI stuff because he's working also in a professional environment and that deals with data, right? And then it's all those questions about what's going to happen with the data. Are you even Yeah. Like, are you going to jump full on into this AI thing, or are you going to hold off and, basically protect your data until things work their way out? You figure out what's going to happen. Because there was just a thing, just saw it in my news feed about a researcher had used this legally, had used this huge, I think it was a medical database or an insurance database, health information, right? Anonymized, but was feeding it to, for this AI with a mix of other stuff, right? Totally authorized use. But then the company or whoever owned that data then said, I guess there was nothing about AI with that kind of contract or whatever, the rights to use this data. But then the company said, or the organization, whoever owned this data, said, we don't want this in the AI anymore. We want you to take it out. And then this researcher tried to extract everything the AI had learned from this database, right, while still maintaining all the other stuff it had learned or had scraped, right?
Yeah.
Impossible.
Oh, yeah. That'd be
impossible.
Yeah.
It was basically like,
the virus is already in the human, and you
Yeah.
can't take the virus out. It's
or
already
it's just kind of like,
modified.
take this memory out of the brain.
Boy,
and it's
you
like,
know,
go
yeah.
in with surgery, and you're
Yeah.
going to untangle this memory of this moment out of the brain. and
Oh,
it's
there's
like,
a beautiful
you can't.
story in there.
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
and it's like,
Yeah.
the guy was like, okay, there's almost no way to reverse engineer this. I basically have to destroy this
The whole database.
large language
well,
model,
maybe
right?
you can
and start from scratch again. And so that's the thing.
Hopefully, you had a backup from before.
Well, no, I don't think it's been resolved, but it's just basically like, I think his point and his research now is about like is there any way to undo this kind of stuff? Like, are you basically going to have to kill these large language models if somebody says, I don't want this in here, right, anymore?
Or
Because it's
somebody
almost,
wins some sort of a lawsuit.
yeah, and it's almost impossible. Like, you basically have to kill it, right? And
There should be backups.
yeah,
Think about, like,
that's
this-
what John said is like, like version control. Like, you
Yeah,
have to have
yeah,
some
yeah.
sort of
Yeah.
complex
Yeah.
version control, but that it's more like, we're going to regress this AI to when it was a baby before it had this memory, right? And then you're going to have to grow it back from that point without the data, right?
I'm trying to remember, like,
that's what you're talking about is like,
Yeah.
how can we get these memories out? And it's like, okay, we're going to regress you until before the trauma, and then we're going to
but
make the
it's
trauma not
a-
happen,
it's
and
a-
we're going to let you grow up again.
Okay, it's a memory. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's really a beautiful story, but it is a memory bank. It's not. It's and an algorithmic pass through it, right? So it's.
Yeah, but the way it builds those models, right? That's the part that's always been fuzzy for me. But I got my head around it a couple months ago. We talked about it on the show, where it's like that. It's the resolution thing. So it's doing this cycling over and over again
Right.
to refine.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem, is that it's not simply, the algorithm and you're just hitting undo a bunch of times. It's more like it's learning.
Okay, it's learning, but the database, the memory that it's got, I know it's huge, but it's like a giant picture somewhere, right? Like a giant pixelated picture, and it's gotten clearer and clearer and clearer, and you just go back to where it wasn't clear before, I would think. I mean, this is my
basically-
1987 or 85 artificial intelligence class where I learned scheme.
That's kind of like starting from square one, like wiping it out and rebuilding, right? Redoing it, right? It's not, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. Very, very exciting. What a time to be alive.
What a time to be alive. And like I said, hopefully, did we talk about this? We didn't talk about this on the show, right? Like,
what?
Or did we? Like when we had that big Chat GPT discussion, because you and Bag Boy or Dairy King are, full on Chat GPT drones, and me and the younger are less enthralled with it. And I made you ask ChatGPT what is a post-capitalist world going to look like?
Yeah, and then
basically
what
the
it
world
answered,
created by ChatGPT is going
Right.
to look like. And all its answers were frickin' communism and socialism.
Yeah.
So how's that going to work? It's like, oh, we're going to have to redefine what work is. We're going to have more equity. We're going to have to maybe consider universal basic income. It's like, what's the world going to look like without jobs?
And you saw a play like that and you liked it. That
I don't have a problem with,
so
socialism, democratic socialism, or whatever socialism's going to turn into.
I'm trying to remember what I was using.
The problem is that there's a good 50% of the world, or at least this country, that if you start talking about, oh, this is what we're going to have to do, is they already have been arming and trying to undermine democracy, right?
Okay.
I mean, so my problem is every time we talk about, so here we go, we got to the apocalypse, right? It's like every time we talk about this, and it's like, okay, when we have these huge sea changes, cultural sea changes, right, going from industrial going from agrarian to industrial, and now we're still, I guess, in the transition from industrial to digital, right? Information, and it's like, and those transitions have always, so far, have resulted in huge conflagrations, bloody battles, and it's like, is ChatGPT going to help us not kill each other, right, and go through? Or is that the solution? Is like, oh, we're just going to have some kind of global
what was I using
that's
it
going
for?
to cull us down to 500,000 people again or something?
What
is that
was
the
I
way?
Using it for?
You know what? If there aren't enough people and not enough resources and not enough jobs for people, maybe we need less people. Maybe it'll be okay if half the planet dies, right?
I was just asking it about unions.
Yeah.
What are some music business activities where an artist's attorney, personal manager, and talent agent might be working together? I asked it that. And then I asked it, there was one, like I asked it how much per hour is a music lawyer usually paid, because it doesn't say that in the textbook. I've actually been using it to explain, like, what I realize that I'm not a very good reader of things like history books and like just, like the music business book. I'm teaching music business, and it's not that easy for me to understand. It's written really in flowery text a little bit. Like, it could be written a lot clearer. So I don't know why it's written this way, but so I've actually, now that I have ChatGPT, I'll write, hey, here I'll put a bunch of the text in there, and I'll say, what does this mean? And it'll explain it to me, because somebody else has explained somewhere in the history of the world, of the internet, somebody else has explained this concept. And then I'll understand it, and I can tell when it's wrong. And I also use it. I use it a lot, like when I can't remember a name, like a word, like what did I just ask it?
Yeah. And so I think it's fine as a organic search engine, right? Or more sort of human-like search engine.
Yes, so
right?
I'm finishing program review, and I'm like trying to, like, and my brain is dead because I'm doing 4,000 other things at the same time, right? And I'm trying to say Columbia College's website is much, much better than ours. How do you say that? I wrote, how do you say Columbia's website is much, much better than ours? And it wrote, you can say Columbia's website is significantly superior to ours. To convey. I'm like, yes, those are the words, significantly superior. I couldn't think of those words right then.
Yeah.
That's how I use it.
That's a tool.
You notice
right?
I haven't come downstairs and said, Rick, what's a 4-letter word for ass?
Yeah, exactly.
But
and so I don't have a problem with that. Yeah, that's just a tool.
I use it for word processing all the time.
And I've also gotten into the hype, right, where it's like, okay, that's large language models, blah blah blah. It's not a sentient thing that's ruling
no,
the
of
world
course,
and,
exactly.
controlling the rockets that are screaming towards us. So it's also
and screaming
not getting
from
overwhelmed
us.
by the hype, basically the OpenAI hype. Startup hype. So it's similar to like Elon Musk talking about, like a self-driving car. It's like you have to take it with a grain of salt. It's
because they're talking about it to get funding.
Yep.
So they want to talk about how it works. They are presenting to you a picture of it working, of the things like the aspirational goals, and it's how it's going to work. But it doesn't really work that way. And every time you ask ChatGPT to give you something like a list of stuff, and then there's some stuff in there that's not right. It's like, oh, I'm still smarter than you. I was telling that, I think, to you guys in the faculty meeting, right? Summarizing it.
Yeah.
Well,
but I do feel like we're moving towards a world where there are going to be less jobs, and basically if the end point is Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk is going to have all the money and the rest of us are going to be destitute and eating bugs, out of the trees, in order to survive, I don't think that's a sustainable model for society. And so we're going to have to figure out, I think we're moving we got to figure out how to move to a new model and hopefully do that. Maybe the AI will help us do that without.
Well, we need to teach people to be less greedy. That's all.
No, I think you're right. I think the biggest disservice to contemporary society is the complete, overwhelming concept of selfishness as the guiding way of forming, or just selfishness.
I got the answer here, though.
Uplifting selfishness, right? And selfishness as being the main factor in all decisions.
Teaching people to be less greedy involves addressing complex psychological, societal, and ethical factors. I've got 11 ways here to teach people to be less greedy. 1 is education and awareness. 2 is emphasize empathy. 3 is promote mindfulness. 4, ethical values. 5, this is a big one, I think, community and social responsibility. 6, financial literacy. 7, role models. Media and advertising, self-reflection, regulation and policy. There you go. That's communism right there, right? And then psychological counseling.
Yeah.
To help individuals struggling with extreme greed or materialism. Thank you, ChatGPT. That's really nice.
Extreme greed or materialism.
You mean suffering from extreme greed or materialism.
The
American way.
The American way.
Yeah. Who wrote this? We better turn.
We better regress. Way. So just freaking looking at Amway. So if you know about Amway and then the money that the guy, again, a pyramid scheme. I'm sorry, multi-level marketing. How important. Freaking, I can't remember his name. Right? It's what's her name's father. Right? Is that right? Or father-in-law? Who was the cockamamie woman who was the education secretary? What's her name?
Oh my
right?
God! Yeah.
Amway, this whole freaking
Forgot her
Amway,
name.
American Way. Yeah, it was just like really early, kind of rewiring of all these ideas. So you realize that okay, all of that garbage that people say about greed is good and selfishness and all that, and it's like this sort of pure form free market capitalism, and it all comes from the founder of a pyramid scheme, a multi-level marketing company. It's like he was an early proponent and gave speeches. You can get records, Amway records, talking about the American way and how translating his business model into a series of tenets for what America should be, or what America, what patriotism is, and how America should be structured. And basically anti-socialist, doggerel.
And so stay tuned for Richard Normal Valentine's next record, which will be about these tenets. You can do like a series of singles on these tenets.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what I got in the pipeline. I don't think I got anything.
Like I said, I took a giant poop earlier. I was really proud of myself. All right, Richard DeVos, and then Dan says Richard DeVos, and Joe Chrisman has yelled menthol.
Oh yeah, we didn't get to see the menthol.
We didn't get to see menthol, and I'm really upset about it. So don't even talk to me about it.
Don't even talk to me about it.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Good.
Have a restful Labor
Labor
Day
Day,
weekend.
yeah.
Remember why you have a Labor Day. It's because of those socialist unions fighting for the workers.